Title of my sermon today is My Son, Absalom. It is found in 2 Samuel chapter 18, from verse 32 to 33. The king asked the Cushite, "Is the young man Absalom safe?" The Cushite replied, "May the enemies of my lord the king and all who rise up to harm you be like that young man." The king was shaken. He went up to the room over the gateway, wept. And he said, "My son Absalom, my son Absalom, if only I had died instead of you, O Absalom, my son, my son." Father, I pray that you will speak to us, that we might understand your heart, we might feel, we might touch how you feel towards us. God, as you said that all the intention of your heart is good for us, not bad. You never really thought about bring the destruction upon us, but bring life to us. Yet we have strayed like a sheep without shepherd. So I pray today that we might first come to know how you feel about us. Then we might turn to you. We just give this time to you in Jesus' name I pray. Now, the Absalom was David's third son. And when he was reigning in Hebron for 7.5 years, he had four children, four sons. The first one was Amnon. And then there was Daniel, then Absalom. Then fourth one is Adonai. Now, this is a really amazing story, but yet it is so common that if we really search our heart, you will see it in our lives. You can see that everything that is happening in the life of Absalom is also happening in our lives. Now, one day, the first son was never been disciplined because he knew that he will be the king over Israel because he was the first son, eldest one, Amnon. But David has many sons and then daughter, Damal, who he had over one same woman as Absalom. The Bible says Absalom was so perfect. From top to the bottom, there was no defection. He was so beautiful. He was really wonderful. They could not find anybody like so handsome, so beautiful like Absalom. So you think about the Absalom's sister, she was beautiful. And this beauty somehow attract people. And then her half-brother, Amnon, who was supposed to be king, after David, if he dies, now Amnon one day had a lust. You cannot call it love. It says a love, but what he has done was a lust. Lust is adultery. Even it never passes beyond the look of desire. Now, it's very important that we think that committing sin, the act, the transgression, is really sin, but sin is really found in the disposition of the heart, even way before you commit it. Now, in this, somehow there's a desire, lust toward his half-sister, and he raped her. He pretended he was sick, and he asked his father when King David came, he said, "I want my sister to come in and take care of me." When she brought the food to him, he was pretending he was sick, and then he grabbed her and he raped her. It was not pleasing unto God. It was not pleasing unto David, his father. And Absalom was angry. He was furious, but Absalom was not only physically so perfect, but this young man was so patient. He was so smart like his father. He waited. He told his sister, Tamar, do not think of this. Do not take it to your heart. Because there will be a time that I will deal with this. Maybe our father David, King David, will take care of this. But somehow, his father was not disciplining his oldest son, Amnon, because to him, this Amnon was too precious because he's going to be a king. And sometimes you have to discipline your children because you love them so much, you emotionally get into the better of your children, and you eventually will destroy your children. That was the case. But it was not only destroying Amnon, but it was destroying Tamar, and it was now putting hatred, resentment in the heart of Absalom. It was really powerful thing, but Absalom knew that he cannot do anything at that point. So he waited for 2 years. You think about it, this young man, probably late his teens, 8 to 9, we don't know because it doesn't say it, but if I can calculate this, that probably, or early 20. And he felt he was violated because Tamar, his sister, was under his protection. That's how that is. And he could not protect his sister from being raped. And his manhood, and as a prince, he felt so violated, but part of it, he's starting to feel it is really to blame his father David, because David is not doing anything about it. So he was quiet and watched it. But as he was quiet and waiting, that the resentfulness is growing, the hatred is growing. When you nurture this, it becomes like a virus. It will overtake you. But he didn't say any word, and he was waiting for 2 years. Then one day, when they are doing the sheep shearing it, cutting all the sheep's hairs, which is like harvest time. So you're supposed to celebrate it. So all these 2 years, he didn't say anything, but he just invited all his brothers and his father David. But David said, I'm too busy, I cannot go there. And then so he said, then let me have all my brothers. And especially Amnon, David said, why Amnon? But he insists. So they all went there. All David's sons went to attend the feast. At the feast, and he struck Amnon, his half-brother who raped his sister. He killed him. Now, as soon as he killed him, he ran away. Because you have to kill the one who's supposed to be king in later days. David was not happy with it. So Amnon ran away, hid for 3 years. So after 3 years, it seems like David, in the Bible, it talk about that David's general was talking about in 2 Samuel 14:1. Joab, son of Jariah, knew that the king's heart longed for Absalom. So after 3 years, now there's anger is calming down, and he wants to see Absalom. And I think a part of it is this, because there was some instant when Solomon became a king, his brother, who was a fourth son, Abinah, appeared to Solomon. He said, I'm supposed to be king, meaning that after Absalom and Amnon died, there was a second son was never mentioned again. So we presume that either he was dead or he was not fit to succeed David's kingship. So, there was nobody but Absalom supposed to be now king in the place of David later on. So David's heart went out for Absalom. You think about from the David's point of view. One day he's raising all his children, all his sons, and provided everything to them. And one day they fought. His son Ammon, raped his half sister, and her brother killed Amnon. This is a house divided, was destroyed. So it must hurt David so much. But yet he still goes out and reach out to his son, Absalom. So they brought Absalom, but Joab used one woman, wise woman, to change David's heart and save David's face by bringing Absalom, who killed his brother. This is a woman who went to David, and this is what she said. In 2 Samuel 14:14, like a water spilled on the ground, which cannot be recovered, so we must die. But that is not what God desires. Rather, he devises ways so that the banished person does not remain banished from him. Now, this is amazing words from this woman, which was put in the mouth by General Joab. God doesn't want people to die. He doesn't want us to perish, but he wants to give a life. He doesn't want all of us to be banished from his presence, because that's what Absalom did. Amnon raped his half sister, and her brother now killed his other son. And David just looking at it, he's so devastated. But this woman's words just bring the heart of God into David. Father's heart. He's starting to feel, though I lost one, I cannot lose this one. And he will succeed after me as a king. And I cannot banish him forever from my presence. That's how God is. God sees that we make mistakes, we rebel against him. There's anger and resentfulness. It just spring up, it just growing, and we commit sin. Yet, God said, I will not banish you forever from my presence. And he's bringing us back to him. He's giving that chance. Sometimes it's really hard because he killed his other son. So Absalom stayed in Jerusalem for 3 more years, not able to see David's face yet. He came close, but he was not intimate relationship with David any longer. And by this time, Absalom was not repenting what he has done, but the resentfulness, the hatefulness, and there's a distrust towards his father. David was even getting greater. And he just now got into his whole life. And he said, called Joab, his cousin, was the head of a whole Israel army. He goes, why did you appear to my father if I cannot see my father's face? It sounds like a good thing. Now I want to reconcile with my father. I want to see his face. I want to have a relationship with my father. It sounds like it, but his intention was not there. We come sometimes to church, but I don't know what's our intention of coming to church. To have a fellowship with God? But it was not. Absalom was not like that. So once that he was reinstated as a prince, for 4 years, next 4 years, this is what he has done. He scammed the whole thing. he crafted so carefully, and he starting to send out 50 royal guard in front of him with the chariots. And he would go to the gate of a city, which talk about the seat of power in the city, and he acted like king. David is in the palace, he's sitting in there, but for 4 years, this handsome looking young man, now probably he's mid-20, we are not sure, but it's probably around that time. He's serving people. He doesn't act like a king, haughty and so exalted, but he was so humble. With the humility, he's serving people. He's attending people's need. For 4 years, he was doing it. Every day, with all his splendor, with all his beauty and the power, yet he served people. While David is sitting in the palace, and he was actually trying to take the seat of David, his father. But it's so ironic when you think about it. If the seat, the kingship was the only thing that Absalom was looking for, he doesn't need to do it. Why? Because he's the next one to the throne. If he just pleases his father. Now I want you to think about what was going on in the heart of Absalom. If he was just sitting there and pleasing his father David, he will be the next king. So he doesn't need to do all those kind of parade all the time. No, it was not his scheme or just trying to be a king. He wanted to overturn the government. Why? Because there's a hatefulness, hatred that was developed in his heart. For 11 years, this young man, he carefully waited till he is able to cope the whole country. He was not to succeed his father, King David, but he was there to kill his father. He wanted every memory of his father to be erased from him. Sin is not found in his act of a transgression. It is found in the disposition of it. What you think in your heart, that's who you are. As I mentioned, the lust is adultery. Even it never passes beyond the look of desire. It is. That's what Jesus is talking about. You're looking at woman lustfully, though you have not committed actual transgression, you have a sin against God. Now, there was something in the heart of Absalom, it just controlling him. It was consuming him. He's not able to control his heart, but there was a hatefulness, his emotion, resentfulness. It's controlling his life. It's controlling it. You say, I want to do this, but yet he cannot do it. Every promise that we make, we break every promise. Why? Because there's no power behind. We cannot overcome it. We know sometimes it's not right, but we are keep doing it. You know, I can see in what is going on in the heart of Absalom. It goes, the hateful anger is really actually is murdering. The hateful anger is murder, even if it never spilled one drop of blood. This is what happened with Absalom. He already spilled all the blood out of his father. Only thing left is now what? To commit it. Just doing it in his action. You know, when we hate it so much, that's what we do. You know, this day and age, I look at all those modern, you know, relativism and all that. Their ultimate goal is not disputing it with God. The ultimate goal is erase the memory and the knowledge and the presence of God from their life and society and the family all together. Erase it all. I'm going to kill my father, David. Why? Because I'm hurt. But he did not cause it. You think about how David felt. David was a brilliant man and wise man. That's what Bible talk about. All his subject was telling David, King David, you are like a God. There's nothing that we can hide from you. You know what is right and you know what is wrong. You look at one time, you discern everything. David knew what was going on in the heart of Absalom. That is a tragedy of the whole thing. Why? You know why? Because David wanted to reach out to his son, but his son will never stop come against him.